Two races left to go, three spots left to claim. Michael Hossack playing playoff spoiler last time out at Michigan, and now we come to the site of the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series Championship finale. We're here at Homestead Miami Speedway, here in virtual Homestead, Florida for the GoldenBrew 135. It's round 13 of the 2025 Juicy Spider Truck Series here in the Elite Racing League. I am William White, joining you for commentary alongside Mathieu Weeks in race control, as well as Jesse Rasimas up in the production box. Matthew, we've only got two races left, and of course, three spots left to claim. What are you anticipating tonight?
Green flag racing. This is just one of those tracks that just brings a lot of green flag laps to it in multiple lanes. So we're going to see some good racing. See some guys probably stretch to get on, try to get as many points as they can in the stage because they know for sure someone will point their way in if two playoff guys win these two races right here. So the next two races. So it's about points and trying to get what you can tonight.
Definitely exciting stuff up ahead. We'll talk about Homestead, the track, more later on, but your starting grid for now: Tommy Ryan for Unacceptable Racing secures the pole position. It's regular season champion Tom Bourne alongside him in the 61. Gerald Campbell, past Cup Series champion, looking for his first Truck Series title. He has a Leighton Norgard past championship race appearance for him in 2023A. He'll be serving an EOL penalty to start tonight's proceedings. Jaden Rasimas will round out the top five, and reigning Cup Series champion Justin Wadsworth will start in P6. JP Phillips, also serving in EOL, will start 7th. Joe Francis for Aggressive Eagle is 8th, with Cody McCorkle and Jeff Green. You see his name's in green, he's already locked in. He rounds out the top 10, with Gavin Higgins and Chris Wright Matthew rounding out the top 12.
Then we got Jeff Ryan 13th, Josh Adams 14th, Dusty Dorr with the decent qualifying effort 15th, Caleb Pucumber 16th, Michael Hosick, who was spoiler last week, rolling off 17th, Seth Rawls 18th, who needs a strong run tonight, a very strong run, Harrison Italian 19th, Frank Fody 20th, Dylan Javier 21st, Andrew Hardcastle 22nd, Sam Batwell 23rd, and Connor Thompson 24th.
Rounding out the rest of our grid momentarily, we have Dave Huckleberry, Mitchell Javier, and Ryan Campbell making up our 27 truck grid. As we're about to come to the green flag here for 90 laps here at Homestead Miami Speedway. It'll be Tom Bourne and Tommy Ryan. The two Toms will take the green flag here, and we are green here at Homestead. It's a fairly even start for the front two. It's Tommy Ryan just inching out in front here in the 66. Started on pole here in the development series this season, gets out into the race lead once again. Tom Bourne already way upstairs there. He's going to lose two spots right off the get-go here, and it's Gerald Campbell, Justin Wadsworth that profit from that. Wadsworth now looking for a move on Campbell. Campbell looking to block. Wadsworth equal to it, looks to the inside, but Campbell clear through turns 3 and 4. Tommy Ryan though will come around turn number 4 to lead the first lap. It's a fairly clean start to proceedings here at Homestead, Matthew. Already one lap ticked off. They'll go by quickly here at Homestead, especially if we have those green flag runs that you've talked about. Just tell us really about this Homestead track. You have a lot of experience here, of course, in Elite's other series. What can we expect to see here from the track itself?
Oh, just give me 1 second. I gotta do race control, and I'll answer that when I get back.
Sounds good. Obviously, Mathieu Weeks here doing double duty as vice co-commentator as well as race controller here. So his hands are very much full. We'll come to him in just a moment. Still, Tommy Ryan does lead. Gerald Campbell in tow behind him. Justin Wadsworth and Joe Francis. Already you're seeing the field begin to space out. Very little 2x2 action. A lot of the field, especially up at the front. Single file. We see Gavin Higgins and Jeff Green there fighting for P7 there. That is your closest side-by-side battle. You see Chris Wright as well joining the fray in car number 8, looking for his third Final Four appearance in the Truck Series. You see Gavin Higgins as well as Dustin Dewar getting a few positions. We mentioned he had a good qualifying. Dustin got up to P15, now finds himself 9th after 4 laps ticked off here. And that is already, I believe that's Tom Bourne coming down pit road, started 2nd, began to go down the field somewhat into 4th, and has now come down pit road early doors here. I don't know if that's a scheduled pit stop or if something has gone wrong for the 61. Matthew, I believe we have you back. We mentioned the long green runs at the top of the show that we can expect here from Homestead Miami Speedway. Just what is it about this track that can allow that sort of green flag racing to flourish here?
just being able to put your truck in different lanes. This track is unlike other tracks on the sim. This one's very good about having multiple lanes. You can move around. You can run the very bottom. You can run like right on that seam, kind of the second lane. You can run the middle, and you can run like 2 lanes on the very outside, right on the seam or close to the wall. It gives you choices to get away from that dirty air, make moves, and the bottom is where you want to take care of your tires, and the outside is where you want to make moves. So it's kind of where it's a judgment thing. Do you want to push early and then save, or then save late, or save early and then push real late? And then Tom Borna was in front of the leader coming to the start. He was starting,
Ah,
on the outside, and he had a couple of feet on Tommy Ryan coming to the restart zone. And when they flew through the green flag, he was ahead of him, so he got a black flag for it.
so a starting infringement for the 61, not the start that he will have wanted if he wants to make the final four here. There goes Chris Wright making a move on his teammate Justin Wadsworth, as Wadsy got up to as high as P3 off the go here. He was right behind Gerald Campbell, looking for a move potentially for P2. Now falls back to P5, looking to retake that position from his teammate. Unsuccessful so far. We'll see if his luck changes. Further back here, we see Seth Rawls there. We mentioned he needed a good run, starting from P18 now up to 13, fighting Michael Harsack, last week's winner. For position behind them, Leighton Norgard was serving in EOL, has already made good progress. He's back up to P15. He's won here before in 2023A, and that season he made his championship race appearance. We'll see if he can replicate that success here tonight, but he's got a good few trucks to work through before we can see if he can get up towards the front, just ahead of them. You see Jeff Ryan, Seth Ross, Michael Harsack offset 3 wide, Dusty Dewar and Josh Adams as well. This is for the 10th position as well. Offset 3 wide, now back to 2x2. Frank Vogt as well, looking for a move potentially on a Leighton Norgard. We are still 3 wide now back there. Vogt backs out of it on the inside there. Leighton Norgard trying to make quick progress back up the field, as are the likes of Seth Rolls. But single file throughout the majority of the field thus far. Obviously only 27 trucks registered, only 26 out on track now. Harrison Talon running 3 laps down, but looks fairly clean. And I think the slightly relatively thinner field, Matthew, I think is going to enable some of this green flag race, and I think potentially some of the guys that are better at saving their tires and being more potent on the long run could see potentially some positive progress in a little while here.
Oh yeah, I'd say about lap 20ish, 25, we'll see who really took care of their stuff if it goes green. And I'd be kind of worried about it late. He's had to push hard to get some spots, but he hasn't really drove it too hard. He's been really smart about it, running the bottom and taking care of the tires while he's making the move. So he's going to be quick, I think. And there's a couple of guys I'm watching here just really just coasting on that bottom and just chilling right now, taking their time.
Yeah, of course, if you're someone like a Leighton Norgard or Seth Rawls or JP Phillips that's had to come from the back of the pack, it can be difficult to save tyres while making that quick progress that is needed. But I think both Seth and Leighton are doing a handy job at doing just that, as both of them look to work past Michael Harsack, who's now way upstairs. You're seeing, at the top of the show, we saw a lot of these guys, once they got single file, they'd all just wrap the bottom side. You're now seeing a lot of different lane choices now from these drivers. See, Michael Harsack went way up to the outside. He'll do so again into turn 3. He's about a lane and a half up on everyone else. What that does is, while you're doing the longer distance around the track, that gives you a better run through the corner and out of the corner. You have a higher minimum speed there. As a Leighton Norgard just files into that particular scrap. Further up ahead, though, we have a Lake Norman fight here between Jeff Green and Justin Wadsworth. Of course, Jeff Green, 2000 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion, running for Lake Norman in the Truck Series exclusively. Cody McCorkle as well, a winner from Richmond during the regular season, looking to enter the fray here on the outside of Justin Wadsworth and get himself potentially in a fight for the championship 4. We know at least one position will be decided on points, and Cody McCorkle was second in the regular season championship, so definitely has a healthy helping of points to lean on should it come down to that for the driver of the number 2 truck for Shift Esports. Just behind them, Jesse Rasimas looking for some progress up towards the front of the field. Started 7th, has cascaded a bit backwards, but still holding a solid position in the top 10, trying to hold off Josh Adams. 3 wide now with the 12, 3, and 32. That's the Leighton Norgard getting a 2-for-1 deal over Dustin Dewar. And Jeff Ryan, he's now up to P12 here in truck number 12. Now going to look to make after the likes of Seth Rawls and Jaden Rasimas in front of him. Dewar, though, manages to get the move done on the outside. Leighton Norgard now upstairs. So close to the wall here at Homestead to be right on board. Now that hasn't really worked for Leighton as Jeff Ryan takes it clean on the inside and does get clear before the end of turn 2. So we're seeing the multi-groove surface start to come in here, Matthew, but of course it doesn't always work like we've just seen there. Leighton's gone back to 14th after trying to use the outside. Jeff Ryan gets that move done with without using too much tyre of his own. If you're one of these drivers that are trying to make the moves on the outside lane, how are you sort of deciding when to go up there, when it's appropriate, and how exactly to do it to actually get the most out of it?
When I do it, the only time I'm gonna do it is 1 and 2, and I'm gonna make sure I'm right on their back bumper going into there. That way they go to the bottom. I rip the outside. They're gonna have the better corner through the bottom, but I'm gonna have the best momentum coming on the exit. And then we're gonna carry that run, get underneath them, and then we're just gonna dive it into 3 if we haven't cleared them and slide up. And that's how you pass here at Homestead.
Definitely. Well, there's some sage advice from a multi-time champion here in Elite, and so far Tommy Ryan looks to have the measure of the field here by half a second over Gerald Campbell here. He leads at the end of lap 16, already 1/6 of the way through the race here.
Oh, there's almost a wreck right there.
Homestead,
That was
Miami.
close. Woo! Leighton and Dewar and Jeff Ryan, they about had a wreck. That was really close, 3 wide going to the turn 3, I think it was.
We've seen these guys in the midfield not shy away from any particularly shisty racing as they all converge on each other. Leighton Norgard with a big send. Dustin Dewar almost didn't see it coming. Jeff Ryan gets shuffled up the track as they all kind of go offset 3 wide. Jeff Ryan paying the price. He falls back a couple tenths. Now Leighton Norgard again going to send it in deep on Dustin Dewar. Late on the brakes here. Does manage to get it slowed down, but Dustin Dewar conserving good momentum on the outside of Leighton Norgard, suffering a bit potentially on the exit, but does clear up in front of the 3. It retains P13 for the time being. I do wonder if he's starting to use a bit too much of that Goodyear rubber to try and make progress, and I wonder if he might just start making some progress the wrong way down the pack. We'll have to see, but looks alright on the outside for Leighton Norgard now side by side with Dustin Dewar. Has a nose on him into 3, but as you mentioned, Matthew, the bottom through 3 and 4 slightly more beneficial here. You don't have as much momentum. We'll see if Leighton Norgard can hang on the right rear of Dewar. He just about can. Will have the run. This is quite the fight here in the mid-pack here as the likes of Frank Felty and Michael Harsack have also closed up on this trio, all fighting for position here. Leighton Norgard desperately trying to undo the progress backwards that EOL did for him. As we know, he had the pace at the 4th fastest time in qualifying. And Jaden Rasimas as well, starting to fall back into the clutches somewhat of the likes of Dustin Dewar and Leighton Norgard here. He's beginning to make some backwards progress. Ooh. Dustin Dewar a little bit loose off the corner. Again, fishtailing right in front of Leighton Norgard there. Oh, in the safer barrier on the outside there. I don't think any of them will be too pleased with that. But 20 laps now on the clock here at Homestead. It's been all clean and all green apart from a few scares in this mid-pack. Dewar does clear Norgard. Norgard now has to worry about Jeff Ryan on his inside and potentially Michael Harsack as well. Played spoiler last week at Michigan, as we've mentioned. Potentially looking to try and find his way in the fight at the front again as all these playoff guys jockeying for every last point and every last position. As with at least one spot being up for grabs on the point side of things, it makes every last point all the more crucial. But still, I'm seeing out in front here, Matthew. Tommy Ryan now nearly a second clear of Joe Francis in second. Gerald Campbell a second and a half back in the 00 in third. I'm seeing some massive gaps up at the front here. So definitely a much larger pace differential up with the front guys than you're seeing in the sort of mid-pack, sort of, you know, from 4th on back. Here we see Chris Wright, Justin Wadsworth, and Gavin Higgins going at it. So definitely the likes of Tommy Ryan and Joe Francis really look to be the contenders early on here.
Yeah, and he wasn't with us earlier in the season, but I forget what mile-and-a-half track we were at. Forgive me. But Tommy Ryan did the same thing. Started up front on the pole and just pulled away. And I don't know what he was doing, but he was able to take care of his tires and dominate that race. And I actually think he won that race, if I'm not mistaken, or something happened late. I don't remember the full details of it, but I just remember him. He was just so quick because he started up front. And we're seeing the same thing here. It looks like he's just got the clean air, running real good lap times, keeping a good gap, where Francis is, a nice second gap. It's been the same for a while now. He's just being nice and smooth. And then you see these other trucks who are really racing hard, who's burning their stuff up. Like a Leighton. I think a Leighton burned that right front up driving through the traffic, and he's struggling right now because Hossack just went by him and is starting to pull away. So starting to see these guys struggle. And then stage points are coming up in 6 laps too. So I know these playoff guys are trying to get all these points they can. Because if Tommy Ryan wins, that means 2 guys are going to get in on points.
Definitely, as we mentioned, Tommy Ryan's victory, that was at Kansas earlier in the season. So you're right, a mile-and-a-half track there. We saw sort of a three-way fight there between Tommy Ryan, Tom Bourne, and Jonathan Cutlip, but it became somewhat to blows between the latter two, and Tommy Ryan very much walked away with the victory on that particular occasion. He seems to be doing the same here thus far, as you mentioned, Matthew, in 6 laps time as we begin at lap 25, at the end of lap 30. Stage points will be awarded. Seth Rawls all the way down in the paint there. I do wonder if that GoldenBrew Coffee Company machine's got a little bit loose coming out of turn 4. Might be able to catch a replay of that in a moment's time, but stage points distributed to the top 10, of course, with the stage winner getting 10 points and the 10th place truck getting 1 point. And I think my suspicions were correct there. Just a little bit of a loose condition coming off of turn 4. A good save from Seth Rawls there, and he will find himself still in P10 with no harm, no foul, really. Got enough of a gap in front and behind him to conserve that P10 for now. What I do worry about, though, Matthew, is of course his tyres, as they would have taken a bit of a beating with a slide like that down the track.
Yeah, he definitely heated up that rear tire. If I was in his shoes after that, I would have went to the bottom, seeing the gap with the truck behind me, try to cool the rear tire down a little bit. But he's out there. He's a wheel man. He knows what he's doing, Seth does.
Seth, of course, not shy of a victory lane here in the Elite Racing League, has notched up a few in his tenure here and is looking to potentially get himself into the Final Four in the Truck Series for the first time here and get a first title in the series. Cody McCorkle here now trying to get past Chris Wright for another top 5 here for Cody McCorkle. Of course, won at Richmond to get his first ever elite victory and has had the pace really to contend with these front guys. Has carved his way through the field methodically, patiently, carefully, and very, very efficiently here. Definitely befitting of someone worthy of potentially getting themselves into the championship 4. Unsuccessful in his bid to get past Chris Wright for the moment, as Wright back upstairs. Cody McCorkle wrapping the white line down at the bottom of the racetrack there. You'll see on the scoring pylon they will alternate positions quite sporadically here as the distance that you cover in the different parts of the racetrack, of course, on the inside far shorter, but you get them far greater run on the outside. We'll see, can McCorkle clear this time? Not quite, as Chris Wright does get there. McCorkle a little bit loose in the middle of the track there, trying to get everything he can to clear Chris Wright out of turn number 4. No success that time. They're both, though, collectively catching Gerald Campbell, who's really struggled in these early portions of the long run here. In this opening third of the race, of course, started right on the back of the likes of Tommy Ryan and Joe Francis, has now fallen back to 5 seconds nearly behind our leader Tommy Ryan, who still maintains a stable 1 second gap. But behind Joe Francis, there is so much track, over 2 seconds between Joe Francis and Justin Wadsworth here, as they're about to come now to the end of the stage. It's the white flag in stage 1. Tommy Ryan does lead by just under a second over Joe Francis. Justin Wadsworth 3 seconds behind in third. Still, they fight for position behind them. Chris Wright now to the inside of Gerald Campbell, looking for P4 right at the death here, coming out of turns 3 and 4 for the final time in stage number 1. It'll be Tommy Ryan that collects 10 stage points and a playoff point for his trouble here. Crosses the line, he wins stage 1 here at Homestead. Joe Francis will collect 9 stage points, with P2 Justin Wadsworth in 3rd. Gerald Campbell 4th. Cody McCorkle will finish 5th, with Chris Wright in 6th. Gavin Higgins in 7th. Josh Adams 8th. Jeff Green in 9th. And Seth Rawls in P10, getting 1 solitary stage point. So with a third of the race now done, 30 laps of green flag running under our belt, hopefully 60 more to come. Matthew, who do you think, having seen this opening third of the race, who are your contenders really for victory, or certainly those who have impressed you so far in this opening stage?
Ryan jumping out to the big lead he had impressed me some, but I feel like a lot of guys are saving. I'm starting to pay attention to Joe Francis starting to eke into that lead little by little, starting to catch him. Wadsworth jumped up to P3. He was battling with like 6s and 7s with all those guys. So those top 3 look to be real fast. Chris Wright, who's been usually burns his stuff up early in a run, has surprised me late last couple weeks, taking care of his tires, being smart on these long runs, and really doing really well. I've raced with him for so long. He's always one of the first guys that really heat up his tires and fall back. But lately, he's kind of figured something out, and he's really rolling too. So there's a couple trucks. We have a caution that can mix this up, but I'm gonna start thinking pit strategy here. It feels like it's gonna go green to the end. You can probably make it on fuel in about 10 laps. Maybe you probably make it now. I don't know how much fuel's in there, but now it's time to start thinking when you're going to pit. Are you going to split it? Are you going to stretch it? Or are you going to early pit?
Definitely looks tasty on the strategy front here, as the undercut, of course, can be incredibly potent at a track like this, but lap time fall off can be quite significant here. And the deficit that you can get from having fresh tyres can be quite large, and you know, with the tyre fall off, it can mean that the undercut can be the way to go here. Of course, drivers will have to calculate fuel numbers and whatnot as the earliest point when they can pit. However, if I'm someone like Tommy Ryan, I'm wanting to protect that track position. I'm wanting to go long and prevent the possibility, as best as possible, of being curtailed by a yellow flag, as of course that advantage would be reset. And one of the more negative consequences that can happen of pitting during a green flag run is if a yellow comes out, you can be trapped 1 lap down, and that is the absolute worst case scenario that you can have in a race that you are dominating, such that Tommy Ryan is at the moment riding on board now with Chris Wright. He's way up to the top of the track here in turns 3 and 4. I think may just graze the wall ever so slightly, but getting every millisecond of speed out of that like Norman Chevrolet, and is clear again of Cody McCorkle, who fouls in. You see in the top right there in the rear view mirror, he fouls in behind Chris Wright, but there is now a yellow flag here flying at Homestead for the first time tonight, and I believe it's involved Seth Rawls. As you see on the left hand side of your screen, he's cascading down the scoring pylon, as is Dustin Dewar. And I do wonder just who's been involved, as Jeff Green and Seth Rawls get into it. And Rawls is going to go off the bumper of JP Phillips, gets a little bit of air hard into the inside wall of the rear bumper. It's not really, it's not, I suppose it's kind of a single car incident, but I think I saw Dustin Dewar drop it into turn 1 there, just at the top of your picture there. I think I saw him go for a little spin there, potentially distracted. We'll get another look here as Jeff Green does clear the 25. We'll see Dustin Dewar coming out of turn 4 here. The incident already happening in front of him, as caution lights are on now, you see, on the right hand side. And as he checks up for Ryan Campbell, just drops it and has to go for a trip through the pit exit road. So something of a bizarre incident for Dustin Dewar, but keeps it going in the right direction. Pit stops have just occurred. Tommy Ryan wins the race off pit road. Wins the race into pit road, rather. I was about to say, I didn't think they were quite that quick, as they all file into pit road now. We'll quickly cover the race off pit road. Tommy Ryan does lead them in. Dustin Dewar again going for a slide as he comes into pit road there. So a second slide under yellow flag conditions for Dustin Dewar, but he manages to keep it under him as Tommy Ryan slots into that number 1 pit box. Everyone else following suit there. We'll see who wins the race off of pit road. These pit stops crucial in this race. See, Tom Bourne's going to file into pit box number 2. Tommy Ryan's going to win the race off pit road. Joe Francis just pips Justin Wadsworth. Chris Wright, Cody McCall, Gavin Higgins, or not Justin Campbell, sorry. Gerald Campbell in 7th place with Josh Adams, Jeff Green, and JP Phillips. Your top 10 coming out of pit road. We're going to be right back shortly. A quick commercial break will follow, and then we'll be right back on the Elite Racing Network for coverage of the Golden Brew 135. We'll be right back soon.
3 years of sellout crowds, 3 years of edge of your seat action, 3 years of jaw-dropping finishes. Worldwide Technology Raceway has rocked the world of NASCAR, and now NASCAR is giving us another reason to celebrate. The 2025 NASCAR Cup Series Championship playoffs are coming Sunday, September 7th, 2025. Just when you thought the racing couldn't get any more intense, now every single lap matters. One wrong move could be the difference between elimination and being crowned the king. The Enjoy Illinois 300, the Confluence Music Festival, the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, and for the first time in 15 years, the NASCAR Xfinity Series on Saturday, September 6th. Don't be on the outside looking in. See history being made in your own backyard. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
To win the blue egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with blue egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Fueling big to win big. Blue egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, ooh, big. To win big, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with blue egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, win big.
And we are back with live coverage of the Golden Brew 135 here at Homestead Miami Speedway on the Elite Racing Network. Thanks, of course, to our race sponsor, Golden Brew Coffee Company, as well as our premier partners, Blue Egg Marketing and Worldwide Technology Raceway. Seeing a fight for the lead here for the first time tonight. Tommy Ryan and Joe Francis, they started on the front row together on this restart here. Tommy Ryan way upstairs, just nose there on the aggressive eagle machine of Joe Francis, who sends it in deep into turns number 1 and 2, trying to get the move done. He's going to wrap the yellow line. He's going to be clear. Can he get clear off of turn 2? Yes, he can. The first lead change of the evening just before the halfway point. Joe Francis takes the lead here, looking for a bye into the championship 4. Chris Wright hot on the heels of the 66 as well. He rides in third now with Tommy Ryan, non-playoff driver, in between them. We saw the race control message come up on the screen. Mathieu Weeks there ruling it a racing incident between the 25, 34 and 88. As
38.
24 and 38. 38 even, not 88. I can't read. Michael Harsack here and Jeff Green, both winners in this round, of course, with Jeff Green taking the win at Michigan and Michael Harsack at Michigan, Jeff Green at somewhere that I can't remember at this exact moment in time. Sam Batwell and Mitch Avere on the outside of those particular drivers there. Further up, Leighton Norgard and JP Phillips, the EOL twins at the back of the pack at the beginning of this race, now both find themselves in the top 10. Norgard at a race height of P9 there, having quite a good pit sequence there under that first caution. But Joe Francis now leading the race. Matthew, you mentioned he was cutting into that gap just before we had that caution come out. Was he someone you were eyeing up there as a potential contender for victory here, especially now that he's taken the lead?
Yeah, he stayed a consistent 1 second behind Tommy the whole time. You know, wasn't dropping time, just taking care of his stuff. And then, you know, towards the end of that run, he really started chipping in about a half a tenth here and there. It wasn't a lot, but little by little, starting to gain on him. So yeah, I seen him. And then that caution, that lifesaver for that caution was for Norgard and Phillips. They needed that so bad after that EOL, and to get them starting up there. Now they're in there with a shot. They have a chance to possibly go up there and fight for this win.
They definitely both have the pace between them, obviously 4th and 7th respectively, for qualifying positions for these two drivers, trying to amass some points towards their championship 4 bids here. Joe Francis, though, trying to have his own bye straight into the final 4. Of course, win and you're in. Jeff Green showed us that when he won the first race of the playoffs here. Jeff Green obviously locked in to the final 4. Tommy Ryan here all over the back of Joe Francis going into turn 3, still not giving up that particular fight. I do wonder if we'll start to see bumpers if it continues to be this close later on in proceedings, but I'm sure they'll be a little nicer to each other. We're only barely halfway through this race, as in a lap 46 start, a lap 47, less than a tenth between our two leaders, and it's Chris Wright and Gavin Higgins as well here that are waiting in the wings here. But still, the fight continues for the lead as he just ekes out an extra couple hundreds. But Ryan now with the run as he look to send it deep into 3. Not this time, but again, a different lane choice for Tommy Ryan. He goes way upstairs here looking for the run. Chris Wright potentially looking underneath Tommy Ryan. Nothing giving this time, but Ryan will now get the run. Will he look for the move into turn 1? Not quite this time. Jeff Ryan now looks to the inside of Tom Bourne, looking to make some progress back up towards the front of the field. Started second, had that penalty that dropped him to last. Thankfully, though, he still finds himself on the lead lap here, running around Jeff Ryan and Jesse Rasimas. JP Phillips as well, looking to get back from that EOL penalty. So something of a shaken up grid, I suppose. Tonight we're seeing some names that we don't usually see up towards the front. Joe Francis, of course, leading, yet to win this season. Does have a couple of Truck Series wins, though, to his name. One on the dirt and one at the Brickyard in previous seasons. But Tommy Ryan as well won at Kansas earlier this season. So both of these guys no strangers to victory lane in this series, fighting for the victory. And again, Tommy Ryan to the bottom now, looking to retake the lead. He's going to send it in deep into turn number 3. He's going to wash way up the track here. Joe Francis might look for a crossover move off of turn 4 here. They're still side by side. Barely nothing to separate them here as they cross the line to end lap 49 side by side going into turn number 1. Joe Francis will now try and dive it in deep and clear the 66 through the middle of turns 1 and 2. At the moment he's clear. Will he still be clear of the corner exit? Just about. Tommy Ryan with a big swing back to the low side to get to the inside of the 55. The 66 will look to drive it in deep into the corner here and clear the 55. Nearly contact as Tommy Ryan gets all sorts of loose, trying to wrap the white line here. Joe Francis back around the outside here. Still neck and neck for the race lead here with 40 laps to go. Matthew, if you're someone like Joe Francis or Tommy Ryan here, are you worried about your tyres now at this stage in the race with how high these guys are racing with still a decent portion of the race to go? Is someone like potentially Chris Wright or Gavin Higgins licking their lips seeing this sort of scrap in front of them?
Yeah, if those guys can make it on fuel, I'll be worried with how hard I'm driving right now up front, knowing these guys are taking care of their tires behind us. But if you can't make it on fuel and you got to, probably, stop and probably take 2, drive the wheels off the thing.
Definitely strategy coming into play here at Homestead, but Joe Francis does retake the lead and starting to establish something of a gap. 0.2 of a second between himself and Tommy Ryan here now as we head into turn 3 once again. Another long-ish run as of right now. We had that caution come out around lap 35. It's now lap 52 here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Chris Wright is in 3rd, Gavin Higgins 4th, Josh Adams up to 5th, Justin Mortworth in 6th, Gerald Campbell in 7th, McCorkle in 8th, still Norgard and Phillips in 9th and 10th. But I think now, Matthew, that we've had that scrap between Francis and Ryan, settled at least for the minute. I think it's going to begin to calm down. I look at the gaps. No one, I think, is going to be side by side at the minute. Maybe Campbell and McCorkle as they scrap for 7th and 8th. But other than that, it all looks pretty calm out there at the minute.
Yeah, it does. And I just got in the truck real quick, just look at the fuel number. You can get 52. It's telling me 52 laps, so they're like right on the money. That's without me going on track. So I would say about 48 to 50 laps. So they're right on the money. So no telling if these guys can really make it to the end or not.
I do wonder if we'll see fuel mileage come into the equation here, like it has done before in the Elite Truck Series, as Leighton Norgard gets a nice tidy move done there, and Cody McCorkle there into turn 3, and McCorkle unable to do the crossover there to get back past Leighton Norgard, who will now be looking at Gerald Campbell here. Into turn 1 to the inside goes the 12 in the 00. Will look to put up a fight here, but might not be able to. Tyres not been on the side of Gerald Campbell tonight, and Norgard will clear off a turn 2. He's up to P7 now. Of course, Leighton Norgard's victory in the Truck Series back in 23A was in the season where past champions were allowed to run for points. He had to beat the likes of Tyler Foti, Scott Crump, John Cutlip, Tate Lytle, all those guys on pace, and he did. So he's a force to be reckoned with in this combo, and he's just gotten past 2-time Cup champ Gerald Campbell for P7. Just up ahead, another Cup champion embroiled in the heat of battle. That's Josh Adams on the inside of Justin Wadsworth, defending Cup Series champion, who's looking for his first Truck Series title. He's back up to 5th momentarily, but Josh Adams will not give up that fight easily. He'll still look underneath the 6, but I think the 6 will just have the run he's able to clear in the middle of 3 and 4 and retain that P5. Meanwhile, further back, Campbell coming back at Leighton Norgard here. They're back side by side here. We saw Campbell just at the back here picture going upstairs through turns 3 and 4. Leighton Norgard wrapping the bottom. Gerald Campbell making that top side work here, but Leighton Norgard trying to get clear, not quite this time. They will again be side by side. Gerald Campbell will just have a nose, looking to clear into turn 1 and potentially block the bottom. Nothing going for the 00 just then, not quite clear, but still able to retain the lead over Leighton Norgard for now, and should be able to get clear with the run off of turn number 4. Norgard unable to slot in as McCorkle is there on his right rear, forced to go back down to the bottom. Does look underneath Gerald Campbell. Cody McCorkle now way up to the top side here. JP Phillips joining the fun as well. Campbell looked a bit loose there in the top side there of 1 and 2. Now does concede about just a nose front bumper length behind a Leighton Norgard. Norgard might potentially look for a slider here, carrying the momentum from 3 and 4. Nothing going there for the number 12, and Campbell will again retake that position. But 7th through 10th here, driving hard for every last point they can get, as of course each one of them are in the playoffs.
Yeah, all these spots, you want to finish finish in front of everyone in front of you. I can't even speak right now. Everyone around you in the top 10, because they're all playoff guys besides Ryan. So these are points that you need to get and take away from others.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, it's essentially double value here when you're taking points away from playoff guys. You gain a point for yourself and you take one away from your rival. Jeff Green just gets past Jeff Ryan there. He has nothing to worry about on the point side of things. He locked himself in back at Michigan. He in the first race of this round of 14. Leighton Norgard, though, is now clear of Gerald Campbell. McCorkle all the way back to 10th as JP Phillips has flown past the pair of them, at least the 2 for now. The 00 and the 34 now are going to get into it, into turns 3 and 4, but Leighton Norgard is clear, and that will be music to the ears of the number 12, as he now has a second's worth of clean air to potentially drive into here. As Gerald Campbell now way up into the fence there, as he was trying to push everything he's got, and JP Phillips will clear. Cody McCorkle might now look for a move. Gerald Campbell not shying away from the high side here again, but Leighton Norgard, JP Phillips and Cody McCorkle all looking to potentially work their way around the 00. Gerald Campbell not potentially the performance that we're used to seeing from the past Cup Series champion here tonight in the GoldenBrew 140, but still a solid top 10 points wise for the 00. We come now to less than 30 to go. Joe Francis still leads a quarter of a second over Tommy Ryan. I'm seeing the gap fluctuate big time. I do wonder if we're starting to see some different lanes used by those two drivers. We'll have to see now. They come down the back straight. See, Joe Francis has a good few truck lengths over Tommy Ryan. Joe Francis down to the bottom. Tommy Ryan also using the same line here. I think Joe Francis potentially driving a little bit deeper into the corner, but manages to get a good exit as well. I think Joe Francis might just have the edge on tyres here. We'll look turns 1 and 2 if they're using any different lines. They're running that same line there, just above that first seam. You see that ingrained into the tarmac there. So with 27 laps to go, Joe Francis, I think, beginning to just build that gap ever so slightly. Looks very smooth, very methodical, and isn't necessarily running away with it, but is certainly establishing himself as a proper contender here, Matthew.
Oh yeah, definitely. But Ryan staying closer to him than what Francis stayed to Ryan that first run. So right there, I think Ryan should try to go a little bit lower. You don't want to ride right behind that dirty air in that same lane. I know that's a good line. That's the line I love to run, is that very first seam. It's my favorite line here, but you want to get away from that dirty air, get some clean air on that nose, and help you turn through the corners there, but get that draft down the straight. I think that would really help him catch him.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, especially with the way these trucks work, they are quite aerodynamic and can be prone to dirty air here. Josh Adams and Gavin Higgins have been really going at it for these past few laps, and I think that might just be bringing them into the clutches of Leighton Norgard and JP Phillips behind them. We see Higgins very, very loose coming out of turn 4, and the caution is flown again for the second time today. I see Tom Bourne and Jesse Rasimas tumbling down the order on the scoring pylon, as I wonder if those two have potentially been involved. We'll consult the Robalis instant replay here. Jeff Green and Tom Bourne side by side going into turn 1, and again a near blowover as Jeff Green and Tom Bourne get into it. Frank Foti just dodged it. Jaden Rasimas, that's why he was going down the order, had to get on the anchors big time to avoid the 61. Did a good job there, but some weird almost netcode looking contact. We'll have another look here on the
Yeah, it looks like
here.
Netco kind of just grabbed Tom while they're next to each other.
Yeah, that's a good foot of netcode, and you see for a scary moment there, Tom Bourne did get some air as the truck tried to blow over. We'll look on board the number 38 of Jeff Green. That is a mean bit of netcode between those two. But we'll wait for the call, of course, from Mathieu Weeks at Race Control. Jeff Green and Tom Bourne, though, both involved in that accident that brings up the second yellow of the night. And again, everyone marching down pit road 4 tires and fuel, I assume, is the order here. And that removes the possibility, really, of anyone running out of fuel. They'll all take as much fuel as they need to make the end of this race, plus a little bit more in the event of a green-white checkered. Of course, if a caution happens late enough, then we'll have 2 laps to go for the green-white checkered, of which we'll have 3 attempts. We'll see who wins the race off pit road here. Tommy Ryan in that first pit stall in the number 66 Northern Tool Equipment Chevrolet. See Tom Bourne as well filing in there. And winning the race off pit road is Joe Francis, Justin Wadsworth, Chris Wright. That is not a good pit stop for Tommy Ryan. I do wonder if he's had a penalty of some kind as he still sat there. So that's Joe Francis, Justin Wadsworth, Chris Wright, Gavin Higgins, Josh Adams, Leighton Norgard, JP Phillips, Cody McCorkle, Gerald Campbell, and Jeff Ryan, your top 10 off pit road. And now that we see the race control call there for caution number 2, netcode between the 38, that's Jeff Ryan, and the 61 of Tom Bourne. You know your order for the restart. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break here on the Elite Racing Network, thanking our premier partners and race sponsors. We'll be back soon, don't go anywhere.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
Since 2010, race fans have had one burning question. When will the Xfinity Series return to Worldwide Technology Raceway? You asked, NASCAR delivered. On Saturday, September 6, 2025, the magic is back. The track that launched the legendary careers of Harvick, Busch, Keselowski, Edwards, and Earnhardt Jr. is now ready to write that next chapter. We're going to introduce you to a new crop of future champions and Hall of Famers. And in the process, we'll create more of the greatest moments in racing history. NASCAR Weekend 2025, the NASCAR Cup Series Championship Playoffs, the Confluence Music Festival, and now 250 miles of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 2 incredible races, 1 challenging track, a 3-day party of epic proportions. Go to www.raceway.com and lock in your weekend racing and camping packages for as little as $20.
As you heard from a few of our premier sponsors, we want to thank our race sponsor for this one, GoldenBrew. Join us as we explore and discover the ultimate GoldenBrew experience tailored just for you. Now back to all the action.
Back under green here for the GoldenBrew at 140. Joe Francis still leads with Justin Wadsworth now in second place, harrying the 55 for the race lead here. He's going to look to the inside of the 55. Chris Wright and Gavin Higgins side by side behind them. 22 laps to go. It's crunch time here at Homestead. No more tyre saving, no more fuel saving. It is absolutely pedal to the metal action here on the Floridian beaches here. There's 21 laps to go now. Joe Francis just has a nose on Justin Wadsworth into turn number 1. Door-to-door action now. Francis will look to pinch Wadsworth as much as he can and get the run off of turn number 2. And looks to be a good enough run for Justin Wadsworth here to keep tabs with Joe Francis going in to turn number 3. Still nothing to separate these two as they both are vying for their first Truck Series title and for a buy into the final 4. Contact there. Joe Francis gets moved up the track and that's going to give Wadsworth the lead by just a 10th. Dustin Dewar there spinning in the background. We stay green for the moment, but Joe Francis now potentially dropping to 3rd as Kevin Higgins looks to work his way into this fight. Chris Wright way upstairs, Leighton Norgard as well with them. Josh Adams in between all of that. We stay green despite Dustin Dewar's spin here. Leighton Norgard looking for the bottom, potentially 3 wide now, back to 2 here below Josh Adams. Late on the brakes here and he's going to get the move all but done here. Josh Adams will hang on the right rear of the 12 here. Still a massive fight from 1st down to 7th here, but crucially Justin Wadsworth, your race leader, out now 0.2 of a second in front of Joe Francis as Francis now sends it in deep into the corner, almost to the bumper of Justin Wadsworth, but nothing going there for the 55. And I'll tell you what, Matthew, it's all gone off here on the restart. Everyone looking for every position and point they can get. Chris Wright now looking to the bottom of Joe Francis here. It's all happening inside 20 to go.
Yeah, no saving tires no more. It's go as hard as you can and try to get the clean air and pull away. I think that's the move right now, and I don't think Francis is too happy with Wadsworth right now, but I didn't get to see the clear picture of it as I was looking at what happened under caution there. I just caught the ending of it where they touched, but he's not going to be too happy about that. So if I was Wadsworth, I'll be looking out for that if he catches me, towards the end of this race. But it looks like Chris Wright is putting up a good fight to let Wadsworth pull away. Oh, never mind. I think Joe lifted just to let him go. He knew he was slowing him down.
Yeah, it's a Lake Norman Motorsports 1-2 now. Justin Wadsworth leads by 0.4. Chris Wright. Joe Francis now coming back at Chris Wright into turns 1 and 2. Potentially late on the brakes here for Joe Francis. Chris Wright way up to the top of the track. Francis tries to pull the slider, gets it done. Wright, though, will have the momentum off the bottom of the corner with a big swing down to the low side. The 55 now will be forced to take the outside lane. Chris Wright to the bottom. Joe Francis hanging right on the right rear. That could potentially end in tears as well, as I think that's how Wadsworth and Francis came together. We could potentially see a repeat. As still, you see the side drafting coming into effect here. Joe Francis chasing Chris Wright down the racetrack, trying to grab the air off his right rear and slow him down. Coming down the front straight. Josh Adams now in all this, joining the party as well in P4. Now looking potentially for P3 here. And there's a blowover potentially down the back of the pack, because I think Frank Foti might have just gone over. That was the spin towards the back of the field there. Coming down the back straight off of turn number 2. It just cut away as Frank Foti was grabbing some air. Hopefully he stayed on all 4 tyres. But we know these trucks aren't averse to going upside down when they get spun around like that, but it looks to me that he stayed on all 4 tyres. potentially got a bit loose off of turn 2 here. Jeff Green just gets into the left rear. Full 360, manages to keep it out the wall. I'm honestly kind of surprised that became a yellow. That was a brilliant save there from Frank Foti, learning from the best, of course, his son Tyler, 7-time Elite Racing League champion and owner of Lake Norman Motorsports. So definitely a good save there from Frank, but that brings out caution number 3 of the evening. Now, the interesting thing here is, of course, these guys have gone hard in this first handful of laps of this run. Will they come down pit road? Justin Wadsworth doesn't. I think everyone else does. Oh, that might be bad for the driver of the 6. If I'm him, I'd be a little scared, but that's Dylan Javier staying out. Jesse Rasimas staying out. Sam Boutwell as well. You see them climb up the scoring pylon as well. Everyone else, though, from 5th on back does pit. Excuse me. You'll see the race off pit road momentarily. Gerald Campbell, Leighton Norgard, Tommy Ryan, JP Phillips, they're all in their pit stalls. Tom Bourne now trundling down, and it's going to be a Leighton Norgard winning the race off pit road here, and that could be crucial for the number 12. He'll be the first car on fresh tyres and will have the inside line here as well to work with. Gerald Campbell behind him, JP Phillips, Joe Francis, Caleb Bakuma, Chris Wright round out your top 10 on the racetrack. So 14 laps to go here. Justin Wadsworth leads, Dylan Javier in 2nd place, Jaden Rasimas in 3rd, and Sam Boutwell in 4th. Leighton Norgard in 5th. Won the race off pit road. It's the first truck on fresh tyres. Gerald Campbell in 6th, JP Phillips in 7th, Joe Francis in 8th, Caleb Bakuma in 9th, Chris Wright in 10th, Jeff Ryan, Josh Adams, Adam Higgins? That's not his name. Gavin Higgins. In 13th as well, looking for redemption from Bristol, of course. He had that coming together with Tom Bourne that took him out of the playoff picture in terms of winning his way in on that particular evening. Of course, can get in on points and does still have the opportunity to win his way in. The field now begins to double up. Justin Wadsworth elects to take the outside. Dylan Javier in 2nd place will take the inside. Sam Boutwell and Jaden Rasimas rather make up row number 2. See caution number 3, tally assessed to the number 3 truck. That's Jeff Ryan for his contact with Frank Foti. Now Fred, the pace car driver, will come down the back straight here and will soon assume control of the field to Justin Wadsworth. There'll be 12 laps to go at the line, and if I'm someone like Justin Wadsworth, I might be sweating bullets. If I'm Justin Wadsworth, I think my heart would have sank seeing everyone else come down pit road apart from me. That's about the one bad thing about leading a stock car race, is that can happen. You essentially decide what everyone else does and you cannot respond to what they do. So with that said, Justin Wadsworth will have control of this restart here as we head into the Geico restart zone. It's 12 to go for a chance to get into the final 4. It's the second to last race of the round of 14. And Barney the Flagman has the green flag in his hand. Justin Wadsworth hits the loud pedal. Doesn't get the lightning start that he potentially would have wanted. Spins the tyres somewhat here. And the inside line gets checked up somewhat. Justin Wadsworth leads into turn 1. We'll see Gerald Campbell, Leighton Norgard, Joe Francis, those guys begin to climb their way, you would assume, back towards the front. They don't have massively fresher tyres, but potentially fresh enough to start making some progress back towards the field. But that's Frank Foti and Seth Rawls going off at the exit of turn 2 in a much similar way to last caution there. And I do wonder if that might be those two out of the race. They went out of the picture quite violently. We'll have a look on the Robalis photo replay. Connor Thompson already having troubles through turns 1 and 2. Seth Rawls and Frank Foti just going to get into it off of turn number 2, and they're both going to violently smack the inside wall there, and that could spell the end of Seth Rawls' playoff bid and potentially Frank Foti's night as well. Seth Rawls tries to get that Toyota going once again, as does Frank Foti. Neither of them giving up on hope here inside a dozen to go here. But that is definitely a case of cautions breeding cautions here, and that'll be music to the ears of everyone that stayed out there on that first go around. Justin Wadsworth, Dylan Javier, and Sam Boutwell especially. Jaden Rasimas has lost 1 position to Gerald Campbell, but still solidly holds a top 5 position at the minute. All these guys in blue that stayed out plus Justin Wadsworth, who currently leads the playoff drivers, all looking to kind of go off strategy and win that way. Justin Wadsworth definitely having the pace, of course, was leading when the pace car came out for caution number 3. We'll just wait on a verdict for caution number 4, but now 10 laps to go. Justin Wadsworth is still leading. The likes of Joe Francis and Chris Wright making good progress as well. You see the race control call there, tally to the 25, that's Seth Rules. So tally assessed to Seth for getting loose and getting into the number 41 truck. That's Frank Foti. So for the second caution in a row, Frank Foti finds himself embroiled in an incident not really of his own doing here. So unfortunate for the driver in the number 41. And I think this one has had more dire consequences than the first one here, as he will have some front end damage to that Chevrolet. But he's still in the running. You see he is down pit road now, but presumably will come out just before these guys come across the line to stay on the lead lap here late in the running. Leighton Norgard didn't really have the ideal restart. Starting on the inside does get a bit checked up by the guys like Dylan Javier, Jesse Rasimas, who didn't have control and were on those slightly older tyres. That allowed Joe Francis, Chris Wright and Gerald Campbell to get around the number 12. So he'll restart now P8, and with a bit more to do here, with less laps on his side. So we'll see what he can do from P8 here. But they now are going to double up in just a moment's time. 9 laps to go will become 8 to go when they restart here, Matthew. If you're someone like Justin Wadsworth, are you still a bit nervous seeing those guys with fresher tires behind you? If you're, in that third caution, if you're one of those front runners, would you have stayed out or would you have come down as well?
We had a good little run, so I would have went down and took some tires. This track is good about burning up the tires. So, and if I'm Wadsworth, I'm nervous if it goes green to the end. I'm sitting there hoping they wreck every time we restart. But because I know, unlike the Cup car, if you stay on the Cup car, you can fight them pretty good. And these trucks and the Xfinity cars, that staying out after running that many laps, it could really hurt.
So we'll have to wait and see here what Wadsworth can do. It's something of a tire disadvantage as well, as Dylan Javier, Sam Batwell and Jaden Rasimas as well. They restart 2nd, 3rd and 5th here. We got 1 to green. We're coming out of turn 4 now. Fred, the pace car driver, will hand over control again to Justin Wadsworth, who now elects to take the inside here. Like Norman 1 and 2. But for how much longer? They're both on old tyres. Justin Wadsworth steps on the loud pedal, gets a good getaway. Clears his teammate Dylan Javier and will scooch his way back up near the top of the racetrack to get a good entry into turn number 1. They're fighting hard behind them. Sam Batwell trying to take second away from Dylan Javier, but Gerald Campbell, as they wreck big behind them. That's a big accident. I think I saw Joe Francis going around there. Long-time leader of this race facing the wrong direction here. And that was a big smash 'em up going into turns 1 and 2, and that's music to the ears of Justin Wadsworth. We'll see what happened going into turn 1. Joe Francis gets just a little bit loose there. Leighton Norgard gets into the back of him, and everyone has to try and take evasive action. Cody McCorkle, JP Phillips, all getting involved there. And that's a tough deal at the end of this race here. We're right on board with Gavin Higgins as well, who gets involved, gets into the back of JP Phillips, but does manage to save it before getting collected again by, I believe that was Connor Thompson. Dustin Dewar, again, locking up the brakes to avoid it, does a good job there. But that, Matthew, is going to be a big call to make there between Joe Francis and Leighton Norgard, running on board with Connor Thompson. Nowhere really to go there, committed to that bottom line, and Gavin Higgins just taking a slide down there, trying to save that race car. But that is going to have taken a lot of big heavy hitters out of the running, and that's going to shake up the playoff picture somewhat as well.
Oh yeah, big time. And then Wadsworth's happy. This third caution I think is really going to help him probably win this race, cool the tires down even more. But that took out a lot of guys that put some fresh tires on this. Well, not that many. I thought there was more. So a couple of contenders who I thought had some pretty fast trucks tonight.
Yeah, definitely a lot of good guys being wiped out there. Gavin Higgins, JP Phillips, Cody McCorkle, Joe Francis, all big heavy hitters in this race. But cutting back now to the live feed, you see on the top left there, just 6 to go and we're still under yellow. So we'll have a maximum 4 to go here at this restart, which I think we will do. I think we'll come to 1 to green at the end of this lap. Sam Boutwell there. Looking for another podium here in the Truck Series. They're somewhat few and far between for Sam Boutwell. Not that, you know, it's, obviously a hard worker in this series, has yet to find much success in his tenure here, but of course now running well up in P2. Looks to be potentially on the right side of strategy here. If we can have potentially a couple more accidents go the way of the likes of Justin Wadsworth, Sam Boutwell, Dylan Javier, Jaden Rasimas, who all still occupy the top 5 here. We're going to come back to 1 to green this time. You'll see the pace car lights turn off as they cross the start finish line. Justin Wadsworth elects to take the outside. Sam Boutwell has to go down below there. Gerald Campbell will be in 3rd, Dylan Javier 4th, Jaden Rasimas 5th, Chris Wright 6th, Josh Adams in 7th, in Norgard 8th, Michael Horsack 9th, and Tommy Ryan in 10th. Still all to play for the playoff, guys. Of course, if you get a win tonight or next week at Iowa, you're already locked in to the round of 4, the championship race, the championship finale. Of course, at least one spot will be decided on points next week at Iowa. But whoever wins tonight, if they're a playoff driver, they don't have to worry about next week, and that is why they'll be racing so intensely for it. Why the likes of Gerald Campbell and Chris Wright, Leighton Norgard, Josh Adams will be giving it everything they've got to carve through this field as quickly as they can, as there'll be just 6 miles to go. You see the caution number 5 tally goes to the 55 of Joe Francis, got loose in front of the 12 of Leighton Norgard and catalyzed that incident there. So that is the call from race control Mathieu Weeks. The pace car does pull off. We ride on board with Justin Wadsworth. Look at the speedometer in the bottom right. That's how you can tell when he set the loud pedal. Pace speed 65. He now blasts off there, immediately clear of Boutwell. Immediately 3/10 clear of the field trailing him. We look from the deck lid of the number 6. Will we have another yellow to set off a green, white, checkered? Still nearly 3 wide here as Chris Wright looks to go between Gerald Campbell and Sam Boutwell. Almost 4 wide there. Gerald Campbell gets below Sam Boutwell and shuts off the path for Chris Wright there. Leighton Norgard, Josh Adams and Jaden Rasimas as well. They're going to be 3 wide. Going in to turn number 3. Could potentially look at 4 wide here, but Justin Wadsworth is scuttling off into the lead here. 3 laps to go. Gerald Campbell trying to get in front of Sam Boutwell for all he's worth here, but Boutwell just hanging on. They're almost crashing there. 3 wide between Adams, Javier and Wright there. 2 of the 3 of those drivers obviously being part of the Lake Norm Motorsports organisation, but Campbell now will get clear of Sam Boutwell. He's now clear up into 2nd. Does he have enough time though to claw back that deficit to Justin Wadsworth? Josh Adams now on the inside of Sam Boutwell here. Dylan Javier still holding on. Michael Horsack as well, still in this fight here. Leighton Norgard, Tommy Ryan, Jaden Rasimas still your top 10. Tommy Ryan way down the track there, looking for a move on Chris Wright. Still single filing out upstairs now. Everyone trying to find clean air wherever they can get it, but Justin Wadsworth still 0.4 of a second out in front. Staying out seems to have worked for the time being. If there's a yellow before we get to the checkered flag, or the white flag rather, then we'll have to do it all over again with a 2-lap dash to the flag. But if Justin Wadsworth can get to that white flag, then it could be plain sailing for the number 6. White flag now for Justin Wadsworth. Just 1 lap to go, and if he can hold on, he'll race for a championship at Legacy, Texas in just a couple of weeks' time. Chris Wright now to the bottom, gets past Tommy Ryan, now looking for a move on Sam Boutwell, get himself up into the top 5. Michael Horsack on a good run up into 4th here, just in the dying ember. Sam Boutwell looks again for a move here up to the higher side, but through turns 3 and 4 for the final time, it won't be enough for Gerald Campbell. He tried but couldn't quite get there. Justin Wadsworth going to get his first win of the season. He'll race for a championship in 2 weeks. Justin Wadsworth will win here at Homestead. Gerald Campbell 2nd, Josh Adams in 3rd, Michael Horsack in 4th, Chris Wright in P5, Tommy Ryan 6th, Sam Boutwell 7th, Dylan Javier 8th, Jeff Ryan 9th, and Jaden Rasimas will round out the top 10. But Matthew, it was definitely something of a slow burner in those first 2/3 of the race, and then once that 3rd caution came out, it became something of a blockbuster.
Yeah, once you get to that range to where you don't have to save tires anymore, everyone's just full send and it's just take, 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 take.
Definitely. And Justin Wadsworth will be celebrating not only a race victory, but a ticket to the championship 4 here, as he will burn it down in the paint here at Homestead Miami Speedway. He is no stranger to victory lane in the Elite Racing League, and he is here once again looking for his 3rd league title. He's a Development Series champion, he's a Cup Series champion, now wants to become a Truck Series champion on top of that. Justin Wadsworth, your winner here at Homestead Miami. We'll be back shortly for post-race coverage here of the GoldenBrew 140 here on the Elite Racing Network, where we'll go over the race results, get final thoughts, and talk to your top 3, Josh Adams, Gerald Campbell, and Justin Wadsworth. But firstly, just a quick word from our partners and sponsors at the Elite Racing League. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we are back for post-race coverage of the GoldenBrew 140. Quick rundown of your race results. Justin Wadsworth wins here at Homestead by nearly half a second over Gerald Campbell. Josh Adams for Shift rounds out your podium finishes. Michael Harsack, your leading non-playoff driver, winner at Michigan last week, rounds it out with another top 5. Chris Wright in the number 8 truck will finish 5th. Tommy Ryan in 6th. Sam Boutwell P7. Dylan Javier, Jeff Ryan, and Jaden Rasimas will round out your top 10. Tom Bourne 7th. The Leighton Norgard 5th on one of those restarts there, leading the fresh tyres. Unfortunately, tumbles down to P12 at the flag. Cody McCorkle there in 13th. Andrew Harcastle finishes 14th. Faber Motorsports. Mitchell Javier for Lake Norman finishes 15th. Harrison Talon in 16th. Caleb Pacuma in 17th. Dave Huckleberry for Do Good gets another solid top 20 in 18th. Dustin Dewey, his teammate, in 19th. Gavin Higgins in 20th, with Ryan Campbell for Rycam in 21st. JP Phillips and Seth Rawls, both with incidents late on, their 22nd and 23rd. Seth's teammate Connor Thompson for Shift in 24th, and Joe Francis, involved in that late incident, will struggle to a P25 after leading the vast majority of this race. Frank Foti and Jeff Green both failing, unfortunately, to see the checkered flag here, rounding out the 27 car field here. And as we run here the post-race coverage in the waiting room here, we only have Gerald Campbell up in the waiting room right now, 2nd place finisher. So we'll grab a quick word with Gerald as we wait for everyone else. Gerald, 2nd place here tonight at Homestead. Obviously good points for the championship bid, but how do you summarize your night overall?
I don't care about points, man. I wanted to win. I wanted to take one away from Lake Norman tonight on of all nights and kind of give them the middle finger on the way out, win at Homestead and get into the playoffs. But, man, Sam had a bad restart in front of me, kind of checked it up, and I thought about forcing it 3 wide, but I was like, I don't want to just I don't think that would have saved my chance of trying to catch up to Wadsworth. There was a little bit of a tire difference, but not enough for me to really catch it. So it just stinks, man. I want to get back on top and get a victory lane before I die of old age, I think.
Definitely. Well, obviously we saw Wadsworth's decision to stay out. Myself and Matthew in the booth, we really didn't like that call. We thought you guys would eat them up on the restart with how Homestead is with burning tires and whatnot. If you could do one thing differently though, in this race to potentially get yourself that victory, would it be staying out with Wadsworth, or would you still have come down? Would you have done something else differently?
Everyone else probably got eaten up, but the leader, man, the clean air was so important. Like if you got clean air, you really didn't have to be the best at saving tires. You're just being in clean air saved you a lot of your tires. And man, if he had like dirty air, obviously he would have gotten eaten up as well. But that clean air allowed him to just kind of just plant it into the turns. And yeah, I mean, he would have eventually, the tires would have caught up to him. But restart after restart after restart, the new tires started not to be obviously as effective because you're gonna put some heat into them, cool them down, heat them, cool them down. It does lose a little bit to them. So it just man, if we would have just gone green from the get go after that restart. But then again, we're in elite racing, and you kind of have to figure that's not going to happen at the end of the race.
Definitely. Well, still a solid run, solid P2 for yourself, Gerald. Any partners or sponsors you want to thank for another podium in the Truck Series?
Yeah, stinks for all around. Aggressive Eagle had a pretty rough night. Both Joe Francis had probably a winning car if the caution didn't come out, and if he didn't get nabbed for a penalty, Tom Bourne was going to be on top for probably a win too. So all three of us had a shot to try to get it tonight, and unfortunately, Lake Norman just has that like anime character just vibe that just you just it doesn't matter. You can't seem to beat a Lake Norman car when it comes down to it. So we're gonna keep trying. Obviously, we got one more race to at least get one of the Aggressive Eagle cars to get in there. But of course, I do want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, including my beautiful wife. That Chad somehow put a race on a Mother's Day where I guess, well, he doesn't have kids, so it doesn't matter to him too much. But for the rest of us, we have to kind of beg and plead for our wives to understand to let us get on and race on their day. And we're just, as you can see, 27 people were at least able to get that done to be able to race tonight. And of course, you find folks having to do all this talking. That's even worse to do online racing, to convince your wife that that's important enough, but to convince your wife that you're going to talk about people doing it. I know in your guys' shoes, that's even harder. So good luck to you guys explaining that to your wives. I at least got my got my second place, but yeah, I'm probably not going to have the bed tonight. But luckily we did have a good Mother's Day. So again, congratulations to everyone for Mother's Day and being able to race, and thank you to my lovely and beautiful and not so mad, hopefully, wife.
Definitely. Well, that's why I'm only 19. I'm too young to have a wife, so I have a few years before I have to start worrying about that.
Boy.
But anyway, congratulations and thank you very much for your time, Gerald. I'm sure we'll be speaking to you in Victor Lane very, very soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.
So that was second place, Gerald Campbell. Going to go a bit backwards here now that we do have Josh Adams, P3 finish, of course, for you, Josh. For Schiff, was a decent night for you overall. How do you summarize your night?
Yeah, it was just I think about the same as all these go. Like I tried to run hard and get the stage points in stage one. It didn't work out for me. I think I got 8th, so I mean it was something, but I ran the tires off of it. And then I ran back to the bottom near the end of that run and figured out what I needed to do for the next run, and thought I was really good. And I just didn't have the track position. And then, as you guys know, we get down to the final 15 or whatever, and we do the same thing every week. So you pretty much know that the one guy that stayed out was probably going to win because nobody in mid-pack can race.
Yeah, that definitely seemed to be that way when the cautions started flying there. We asked this question to Joe. I'll ask it to you, of course. Wadsworth and all those guys, they stayed out. Seemed to work for the vast majority of them. They were still up in that lead pack when the flag fell, despite being on quite older tires. If you had to do one thing differently, would it be staying out instead of coming in for tires, or would you have done something else differently to try and have something for Justin?
No, I think if I would have done anything differently, it would have probably just maybe been a 2-tire call and been one of the first ones on offense. But I was just talking to Justin, and I figured I was already behind him, so I wouldn't have wanted to, stay out and be at the non-advantageous position of the front row and not getting the good restarts. So I was glad with what I did, but if I could have done some, I probably would have just done 2 tires maybe.
Yeah, we spoke to Gerald, and we kind of saw it in action in those dying laps. The clean air seemed to be what was most important. Was that how you saw it? Clean air was just kind of king tonight, and that's why Justin was able to still keep that gap at the flag, and of course not worry suffering too much with those older tires.
Yeah, I think that probably had a lot to do with it. I never got to experience clean air in the race. I'm sure it was good, but the biggest advantage for him was just that we had 4 straight cautions.
It definitely, of course, time definitely on his side. But we look now, just one race left, Iowa. Decent haul of points will put you in a good position to potentially point your way in, of course, next week with at least one spot up for grabs on points for that particular evening. How do you rate your chances at Iowa?
Well, it's one of my best tracks, but Bristol was too, and I got wrecked out of that on lap 1 and survived at least. But I think I should do pretty good if I can stay clean. But that's easier said than done in this league most times. So I think if I can stay clean, I'll be up there in the battle for the win. And I haven't seen what happened with the points yet. I know I gained on some guys that had an unfortunate night there, so that was good. Like I don't know where I'll end up being, but I'm still probably going into that race thinking I need to win.
Definitely. Well, hopefully we'll see you in Victor in a week's time. But any partners, sponsors you want to thank for getting that number 81 on the podium again?
Yeah, just everybody at Shift Esports. We haven't had the greatest of luck across really anything this season, but we've got a chance to put at least one of us, maybe 2, in the playoffs. I think probably realistically at this point, probably just 1. So all those guys, Cody and Seth, they have a good shot. Connor's been just plugging away every race, even though he didn't make it, just getting better. Everybody at JUICYSPYDER that's gave me awesome cars to race across multiple different leagues. NJB Designs for the paint scheme. The High Side Podcast is on there. Just everybody that in Elite Racing Network, you guys do a good job. So everybody that makes it go around, Chad. So hopefully we'll go and put on a good show at Iowa.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for your time, Josh. Congratulations on another good result. Hopefully we'll see you next week at Iowa.
And one last thing, I know my buddy Chris thinks I did him wrong, so if I have to, I apologize for him being upset, but I know we'll talk about it after the race.
Absolutely. Well, good stuff, Josh. Thanks very much for your time, and congratulations, dude.
Thank you.
So that was Josh Adams, P3, but of course, man of the hour, Justin Wadsworth. Winner again in the Truck Series. You're chasing now your 3rd Elite Racing League championship now that you are locked in to the big night in Texas. How do you summarize your night overall, though, tonight?
When you come on with the win, I'd say I'd summarize it as a good night. Came in here, wasn't really sure what to expect, but the pitch strategy kind of played my favor. Although I will say right at the end there, when they all came down pit road, I thought I was toast, being out there by myself. But those cautions just kept coming out and worked out.
I will definitely say I also kind of thought you were toast. I saw everyone but you come down pit road. I pulled a little face. I won't lie. But I I saw you actually managed to hold the lead quite well. Obviously, cautions definitely less time, less pressure, of course. But we saw as well clean air. Even when Gerald got by Sam and was up into second, he really wasn't eating into that gap at the rate that I think any of us, certainly myself and Matthew, would have expected. How important? I think we can definitely chalk it up to clean air. Just how important was that for you once the cautions depleted and we were under green at the end there?
Yeah, I mean, clean air is kind of everything, and track position's key too. And I never really got to let it loose until that last run of 25 laps. I'd pretty much been saving every run we had, and then I'd start driving back to the field, and it would always get cut short by a caution a little bit. So I never really felt like I'd kind of stretch my legs. So to get that lead and really just be able to just hammer it down was nice. And then also, you know, when you're only running, I don't know, 2 to 5 laps under green, and then there's a caution coming out, you know, you can kind of gap the field enough off the restart that usually they can't get to you. So I think that was a big part of it too for me winning tonight, was they didn't really have a chance to get to me with those clean tires before it was over.
Absolutely, and of course, you don't have to worry too much about Iowa next week. You're already locked in. But Legacy, Texas isn't a track we frequent too much in any of the series, really here in Elite. So it's fun to have it for the final championship race. How do you rate your chances at a track like that? Of course, it's quite a bit different from the modern configuration.
Oh, I think my chances are pretty good. Honestly, I feel like intermediates are probably one of my strong suits. But I don't know that I've raced Old Texas, at least not in a while. But you know, the part that's great about winning is that I'm locked in. So next week I don't have to worry about Iowa. I can just focus on running some laps for Texas, and then obviously, you know, also putting more time into the other 2 leagues too, to see if I can get in the championship for those 2 too.
Definitely. Well, of course, another victory for the Waste Management number 6. Any sponsors or partners you want to thank for another victory in the Truck Series?
Yeah. Shout out to all the moms out there today. Happy Mother's Day. I'll dedicate this win to my mom. I was over there today for Mother's Day. And shout out to my dad, Craig Wad's always watching. Girlfriend Jill, she's always so supportive. Shout out to Rob. He's actually been following too. He's my mom's boyfriend. And then shout out Lake Norman. You know, the guys on the team are awesome. No matter what series, you know, the team's kind of really grown, and it's cool to see how much faster these guys are getting to and working with them. And then also shout out to JD Designs. You know, I always forget to shout out John, but he paints all my stuff too, and he has for a while now, and he just does such an amazing job, and a really great dude too. So if you need a real professional looking paint job, you know, JD Designs, Jonathan Cutlip is the way to go. And then lastly, you know, shout out to you guys, Chad, the whole booth. You guys do an awesome job. Dave behind the scenes, everything runs so good, and yeah, and you guys do an awesome job. I enjoy watching it back, so thank you guys for that.
So appreciate the kind words. Congratulations on the victory. Hopefully we'll be speaking to you in Victory Lane a couple more times this season. But thank you very much for your time, Justin.
Yeah, all right, thanks guys.
So that was the man of the hour winner tonight, Justin Wadsworth. But Wadsworth? That's not his name. Justin Wadsworth. That is his name. Winner here tonight at Homestead. But final thoughts from you, Mathieu Weeks, on what was definitely a slow burner, but definitely went up in a blaze of glory that only Elite can really serve up.
It was a good race, and turned out to be an all-time Elite race as usual. We always get these at the end. I don't know why. I'm like Justin. It bugs me because he hit it perfect. He was not able to stretch his feet, and I'm in that same boat. You're never able to stretch your feet, and you can't get those long runs. And congrats to Justin on winning the race. It reminds me of last season in Cup when I was going to win the Kentucky race in the playoffs. Tate accidentally turned Stanley, and a caution come out, and Wadsworth won, and there's like 11 laps to go, and we had a couple cautions, and he ended up winning that race and winning the championship. So could this be like last season in the Cup here?
Definitely, it could potentially be funny if he could win 2 championships in that sort of fashion, but championship, so no matter which way the history books see it, he'll be a 3-time champion if he can get it done at Legacy, Texas in a couple weeks' time. But that is going to be all we have time for here on the Elite Racing Network. From myself, William White, from Mathieu Weeks Race Control, alongside me in the commentary box, and Jesse Rasimas producing tonight, as well as Dave Huckleberry, Chad Frankenfield, everyone who runs the Elite Racing League and the Elite Racing Network, all the drivers, all the sponsors and partners that work with us. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a good, safe evening and a happy Mother's Day over across the pond in the United States. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have a safe evening. Thank you and goodbye.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. iRace or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.